I was watching the Jeffrey Epstein's document on Netflix last night and I'm spooked. Literally had a mini panic attack with all these memories flooding in as I'm laying in my bed watching. A girl's face flashes across the screen and I recognized one of his victims as one of my really good childhood friends. I've lived in South Florida almost all my life with my crazy controlling parents that wouldn't let me do anything as a kid. No phone calls to friends, no extracurricular activities, unless it was academics. Couldn't have friends over, and you can forget about me going over to anyone's house. Plus, my dad worked at my school during my elementary school years, so I had to be on my best behavior. So when I went to middle school, I was really pumped. Finally, some type of freedom, my personality started to shine, and making friends came easy to me. Fast forward to a year in, and I had become really good friends with these two girls. We can call them Heather and Sharon. They were both pretty, popular, friendly, but what fascinated me most was that Heather was the only girl in middle school that I knew that was able to sleep over a boy's house. It was something so foreign to me since my parents told me I couldn't even go on a date with a boy until after I graduated. So I automatically thought she was the coolest chick I've ever met. Throughout our friendship, we were known as the tripod. We had all the same classes and lunch periods, so we all got pretty close. Over time, Heather would always ask me to hang out with her and Sharon either after school or on the weekends. But with my parents, there was no way in hell. I did attempt multiple times to ask for permission with no success each time, not even a maybe. I was so bummed because I always felt left out having Heather and Sharon hang out without me. Something I would eventually become grateful for. One day, while sitting out in the courtyard for lunch, Heather pulled me aside and asked what I thought about skipping school for one day. I instantly freaked out and thought about the automated messages the school calls home with to let your parents know you weren't at school. If my parents ever got that, my ass would be a toast. So I shut that idea down right away, kinda laughed it off because there would be no way to pull it off. But she literally would not stop asking. So eventually she convinced me and we were ready to start the planning. It took us about a week every day during lunch trying to figure out how to pull this off. The thrill of it had me so excited that I've never done anything like this. The plan was to have my mum drop me off at school as usual and have the girls there waiting for me, and we would simply just walk off to the gas station that's near the school and have one of Heather's friends pick us up. Not sure how I planned on dodging the school call, but whatever. Oh, and I forgot to add. Heather made it a point several times to remind me that I need to wear something that would give me an innocent look. I blew this off because I was already 13 years old. I looked innocent enough. Plan goes smoothly and we were walking to the gas station. But as we were walking, Heather's cell phone is blowing up like constant phone calls and text coming through. Each one she answers. Just meet us at the gas station like we usually do. At this point, I'm confused because I thought it was supposed to be the tripod hanging for the day. As we get closer to the gas station, I see a group of like 7 girls standing there and they're around my same age range, 12 to 14 years old. Some girls I've seen around school, others I don't recognize, but they all perked up when they see Heather's walk up. All of a sudden, Heather yells, "Who's ready to make some money?" And almost all the girls raise their hand and start cheering. I grabbed Sharon and asked her what she's talking about, and the look that Sharon gave me is one I'll never forget. It was like she was saying, "Get out now while you can." It just made me very uncomfortable and she never ended up saying anything. It was just weird. A big group of young girls who should be in school just hanging at a gas station. As we're standing there, 2 black Lincoln Town cars pulled up and made a sudden stop right in front of us. Heather started numbering the girls and telling the first group to get in the first car, and as they do, the car speeds away. The other one slowly rolls the window down, and I see this older man with sunglasses on just sitting there and smiling. He asks if we are ready to go to the mansion, which excites the 2 other girls standing behind me. He opens the door, and they both jump in, followed by Sharon. Heather is standing next to me and nudges me to go on, but as she does, I start going off on her, asking her what the hell is going on. Where are we even going? Who's this man? And why didn't she mention this in any of her plans? She's looking almost annoyed at me and says, "Out of all the girls I bring, you're the only one that's giving me a problem. I thought you would want to get out and finally have some fun. And with your body, you could make a killing." At the time, I was so naive. I didn't know exactly what she meant by the tone of her voice and how pressured she was making me feel. I ended up backing out and ran back to school. As embarrassed as I felt for bailing on my friends, I feared my mom and her belt a lot more. Plus, going off in a car with someone I've never met screamed stranger danger. I am so grateful that my parents put that fear in me, or else I don't know if I could have made that smart decision that would have eventually saved me. After that, I barely hung out with Heather again. She tried a few more times, but I just got bad vibes from her and cut her off. But I always saw her randomly walk out of school towards the gas station, always with a group of girls. Sharon, on the other hand, she started to spiral into depression slowly. She would only hang out with Heather and would cling to her like a lost puppy. I noticed she would miss school more frequently until one day she just stopped coming altogether. Years later, I found out she just offed herself. And after watching the documentary, I'm convinced she was one of the JE's victims, and Heather was one of his recruiters. Should have mentioned this happened in 2004 in West Palm Beach. I reached out to the only childhood friend I stay in contact with, and she confirmed that it was in fact my friend whom we went to middle school with in that documentary. Since this morning, I've contacted a friend who's in law enforcement to see if I could speak with someone about what I know. Even the little information I have could help out in some way. As for Sharon, I never met anyone in her family or had any contact information as I was on major lockdown back then, and this was 16 years ago. Still trying to track them down to see if they knew about any of this. It could help explain why she might have taken her life. And I tried to forget about all of this. Then, years later, I was watching a documentary again. I wasn't really paying attention until they started showing photos of the victims. And then I saw a face I recognized immediately. My heart stopped. I couldn't breathe. All those memories from middle school came flooding back at once. The gas station, the cars, mansion, the girls, everything suddenly made sense. After the doc, I started digging online, looking at old articles, photos, anything I could find. And then I saw a photo. In the beginning of one of the pictures, standing near a group of girls, was a woman I recognized instantly. It was Heather's mom. I stared at the photo for a long time, hoping it was wrong, but I wasn't. I would recognize her anywhere. She used to pick Heather up from school sometimes. She knew all of us. She was always very friendly, always smiling, always asking about our families. That's when everything clicked. Heather wasn't just one random girl recruiting other girls. She learnt it from her own mother. All those times Heather tried to get me to hang out, all those times she pushed me to skip school, and all those times she told me to dress innocent. It wasn't random. I wasn't being invited to just hang out. I was being recruited. And the reason she kept trying so hard was because her own mother was part of it.